Welcome to the Reddit library. Today, we'll be looking at r/AskReddit, where user I am a French door asked, what very realistic event could happen to make 2020 even worse? I found a snake under a blanket in the room. It's already happening, people. Could be worse, could have been in your boot. Hello. Hurricane season is coming up. I thought a hurricane season was over. We've had one, yes, but what about second hurricane season? I don't think they know about second hurricane. Pip, what about category 5s? Can we at least get through half of 2020 before trying to outdo it? No, we're speedrunning the end of the world this year. Giant forest fires evacuating large parts of California during the escalating coronavirus outbreak. Pretty ironic that last October I was told that I had to leave my house and now being told to stay home. Now, what happens if the coronavirus carries on until wildfire seasons? People would probably be mass tested and those who test positive would be separated in evacuations and everyone would be evacuated en masse. Well, that would be the optimal solution. Realistically, everyone jumps in their car, creates massive traffic jams, tears apart neighboring states' infrastructure, spread the virus to neighboring states and cities, overwhelm the stores, and just stay in hotels. The Pacific Northwest experiences a 9.0 Cascadia subduction zone earthquake. I finally got approved to work from home. It better not. Lucky. Poor guy had to compromise and work halfway between his office and home. Another hurricane. While everyone's in quarantine, an infectious disease hurricane would not be fun. Yes, everyone must evacuate and move to shelters inland. At that point, it's almost like you have to quarantine the healthy and high-risk people and let everyone else just get it. We like to call that strategy the UK. Random Chimp event. That's my band name. If an enormous solar flare from the sun strikes Earth, it could take out our electrical grid, internet, and almost all electronic devices. A solar flare struck in 1859 that would have caused $10 trillion worth of damages today. Fortunately, most internet backbones are in non-conductive optic fiber and are underwater. Internet shutdown. I feel like spanking you just for suggesting it. Don't threaten me with a good time, feels like it fits here. Any disasters during this pandemic? Imagine if this is still spreading rapidly in April with mass quarantines and a tornado outbreak on the likes of 2011 super outbreak hits. Injured normally have medical to go to, but if it's all filled up by sick patients, well, let's just hope it doesn't come to that. Everyone in the States, count yourselves lucky that this outbreak didn't hit in July to September and hope it gets cleared before then. Imagine if this was widespread during a category 5 hurricane impact, when they normally tell an entire region to scram to the other parts of the country. I live in Nashville, and we pretty much just come out of a pretty bad tornado that wrecked a good chunk of the city. Then, this coronavirus garbage. And most of us are service industry or freelancers, musicians, photographers, videographers, so we're really getting hit hard with all this mass quarantine. Well, my mom died yesterday, so there's that. Edit. Definitely did not expect to wake up to all of this. Thank you all for the support. You have no idea how much this means to me. I'm sorry for your loss. State-sponsored hackers attacking the medical industry. Yep, that would turn this up to 11. It's one louder, isn't it? If Yellowstone erupted, you might as well grab a good bottle of your choice and kick back. Woody Harrelson style. The Earn It bill being passed by Congress. It effectively ends internet encryption and any perceived internet privacy we still have. Edit 1. Thanks to those who've asked what can be done. Here's how you can let your congressional rep know that you expect them to vote against the Earn It bill. Please share this and please make your voice heard. They're trying to get it done while we're all distracted. Evil pricks. And consider, initiatives like ID 2020 essentially require the removal of data privacy to function as, among other things, a viable medical tracking system for public safety that can grant or deny citizens access to various aspects of society. And what justifies medical tracking thoughts more than a pandemic? We're very at risk of adopting something similar to the Chinese social credit system, which is worth a terrifying deep dive. Honestly, ID 2020 is terrifying. Terrifying enough that my state saw it coming a few years ago and made mandatory microchipping illegal. The more I look into it, I just want to tap out and go live in a cave somewhere. Everybody should be extremely suspect of the term digital identity. Alright, this thread is worsening my anxiety. Same, but I can't look away. Why must my thumb betray me? Title of your sex tape. Natural, Yellowstone erupts. Man-made, some moron decides a war is a good way to kickstart the economy after the Corona disaster. Yellowstone is due to blow, but in geological time. It's sometime in the next 100,000 years or so. 2020 is within the next 100,000 years. You are not wrong, but if it did blow, ain't nothing we can do about it, so why worry? This logic actually inspires me to move closer to Yellowstone. I would too if it didn't mean living in Wyoming. If I can't be living in a place where the eruption wouldn't even register, I want to be close enough to be blown off the map immediately. Another natural disaster, an insect plague, another war, another disease, etc. At this point, it's amazing that we're still here and not in a grave somewhere given the circumstances of the year so far. Isn't an insect plague already happening in Africa right now? You're right, I give up. I swear, every continent and every country is experiencing some biblical plague right now. Since you refuse to free my people all through the land of Egypt, I send a pestilence and plague into your house, into your bed. A much overdue seismic big one hitting my state of California. The last catastrophic quake, as told by several tribes' lore, was in the 1700s and created Humboldt Bay. That would suck with everyone being in quarantine right now. We had a 5.2 in Humboldt yesterday. It was quite the fun ride. The coronavirus can mutate to become deadlier, or we could just realize it is deadlier or has long-term effects we didn't know about. Or a rushed vaccine produces rage zombies and we are actually in the precursor to every zombie apocalypse movie ever made. Or they could make an untested vaccine that actually kills 90% of people. When diseases mutate, the virus doesn't just send out a telepathic signal that makes all the other viruses in the world mutate at the same time, so hopefully we could try to contain that new concentrated mutated strain. A Great Depression. The season of Earth is entirely too unrealistic. What have the writers been thinking? They're trying to spice up the storyline since the global warming plot point isn't attracting enough viewers. I think the issue is the global warming plot line is too much of a slow burn, so they put in this end of the world bit to build quick tension. Petition to rewrite this season? No, let's see how it plays out. Let's not give 2020 any more bright ideas, please. Edit, thanks for the awards, but I'm down to one good arm thanks to 2020. Let's stop trying to see how it can get worse. It's only the third month and it already feels like a decade has passed. A war almost started, a president went through an impeachment, a continent spontaneously combusted and wreaked havoc on wildlife only to be saved by floods, and a deadly virus took the world by storm, all in 3 months. You're right, sounds like the recap of an unfortunate decade. Edit, also Kobe. Not to mention the plague of locusts sweeping across Africa. Oh, and the volcano blowing up in New Zealand. A coronal mass ejection. There was a huge one in 1859 called the Carrington event. It destroyed telegraph lines. You're probably thinking, oh, those are rare, that'll never happen again. In 2012, a similar sized flare missed the Earth by 9 days. If one did occur, we'd only have 17 hours from release to try and minimize damage, and less time if there was a previous smaller CME before a big one which pushed most of the solar wind out of the way. There are more than 3,000 satellites in orbit at the minute. We would lose almost every single one, and the ones that don't decay in their orbits and burn up in the atmosphere might crash into each other, creating a ring of space junk around the Earth, trapping us in for the foreseeable future. You don't want to know how bad it could be on Earth. Why are all bad things starting with Corona? Will someone finally unite humanity in the ultimate quest to take out the sun? The secondary effects on society if the COVID-19 continues to increase exponentially. A lot of the strands of the fabric of society that we take for granted could start unraveling. We are in a very precarious situation. An alien invasion. I'd almost welcome it at this point. If they are friendly enough, they could be our only friend in isolation. This virus doesn't just clear up on its own. The vaccine takes longer than estimated to develop, but it's not a cure for those that already have it anyway, and then the virus mutates. International borders are closed, the military begins patrolling to make sure people are not sneaking in. Whole towns and cities are now closing to outsiders. People begin to stop trusting their neighbors or people they don't know. Governments stop behaving democratically and urge the population to report their own family, friends, and neighbors to the authorities if they look sick. Nobody has a job, money doesn't matter because it has no use. Violence is a feature of life. The government has gone to ground, and then reports that the military has started shooting civilians at the borders begin to circulate. At that point, civilization would be a dark winter. It's still going to be a long ways off to that, if even. Prepare if you wish, but we are not in that scenario right now. North Korea successfully launching a nuclear warhead that lands either in South Korea or Japan, then sparking an international incident, or Russia invading the Baltic states. Well, if North Korea nukes someone, they are on their own. China has voted against them in the UN in the past, and if China does anything to show support with NK, they would effectively be isolating themselves. 2020 cancelled. After careful consideration, we have decided that it is no longer in the best interests of anyone involved to proceed with 2020. While we recognize that a lot of hard work has gone into preparing for 2020, if we're honest, it has just turned into a bit of a poop show, and we feel it is best to just call it off. We understand that some of you were looking forward to seeing what cruel and peculiar cluster mess of a disaster 2020 would throw up next, but on balance, we believe it is probably best not to find out. We will instead provide ticket holders with a full refund or exchange, and start afresh with 2021 on Monday. Our plan is to deliver a more enjoyable year, similar to say 2016, which everyone thought was the absolute worst year of all time, but in retrospect was a walk in the park. See you next year, the management. Do you have any guys' secrets that you want to share? Let us know in the comments below for a chance to be featured in an upcoming video. Thank you for watching, and remember to hit that subscribe button for more from the Reddit library. See you soon.